In your professional opinion, has the war between Russia and Ukraine increased or decreased financial crimes throughout Europe and the world, including Canada and the US?
I think okay, a couple of answers to that question. The first part is it did accelerated all the legislation in order to combat money laundering. So here in
Hmm.
Canada, in the UK, there has been a push to have to come up with new legislation on which will make it tougher to launder money. Because the big issue we have right now is ultimate beneficial ownership. There's a lot
Mm.
of people that are just trustees or they're just nominees. So you don't know who are the ultimate beneficial owners. So all the sanction against the Russian oligarchs, well, it's great, but they're only going to be able to sanction the goods that they know that they own under their name.
Mm.
Because if they
Right.
own it under the name of a nominee, it's going to be tougher and tougher. So there's a lot of layers that need to be going through. So I think it did actually accelerated the the legislative process in order to have a tougher regulation against money
Mm.
laundering. But
Hmm.
I also think that it will just shift the problem from some countries to other countries because there will
Mm.
always be some countries that are going to be willing to welcome all those investments by the bad people. So, and we already start seeing that there are some countries that says, you know what, if you want to transfer your yacht, your super yacht, I should say, whatever, to our country, we are happy to welcome you. If you want to transfer some of your investment here, we are happy to welcome your investment. So, I think it will just shift the picture from what it is right now to what it will be in about 2 years from now. And some country will benefit from it financially. Are they going to benefit from it in terms of being seen as good countries around the world? I don't think so. We're going to see
Hmm.
them as people who took advantage of a situation. But I think it will just change the way that we use to define money laundering.
Hmm. So, in essence, some countries, like you're saying, are trying to create like a safe haven for people's monies that are spread around the world,
Yep.
like you
And
mentioned, away
and
from the
some
war.
countries are saying it openly, like we welcome
Hmm.
you. Whatever sanction will be put against you, us, we're not going to apply those sanctions. So,
I mean, this is also a reputational risk for the country itself that is actually being involved in these sorts of illicit financial activities.
yes, but there are some people they don't care much about their reputation. They care more about how much money they're making. So, and as I said, I'm not naming any countries, but for some countries, they say, you know what? If we go ahead with accepting what has been proposed to us, well, even though it's non-ethical, it's going to actually give us a lot of money that we need. So, and then from
Mm.
there, we'll be able to it will create economic activity in our country. Like Canada, we're not a good reference. Like we were seen as the snow washing capital of the world. Why? Because in Canada, it takes 15 minutes to incorporate a company. And it's easier to incorporate a company than to own a library card. And the problem is the fact that you can incorporate a company, you just have to name directors, and that's it. That's all. There's not more due diligence that is being done. So for some people, it became very attractive. So what they did, they created those companies, and then they were purchasing real estate because they always purchase real estate in countries that is probably quite stable, and the real estate get increased in terms of value. So I heard some people saying, yeah, even though they're laundering their money, we don't care. They're actually participating to the economic activity of the city. We're building new condos, we're building new houses, so it's good for the construction, it's good for the local economy. So some people see it this way. And I also heard some people, I was doing some work internationally with the International Monetary Fund, and some people
Mm-hmm.
were saying, like I heard some economists say, well, corruption is important as long as it
Mm.
is macroeconomically relevant. You
Really?
see, yeah, that's the danger sometimes that you
That's
will have
crazy.
with economists. And not that I don't like economists, but it's just that
Hmm.
whenever they go to university, they see things in a macroeconomic way. So for them, if you're talking to them about something, they say, okay, so what's the effect? Is it macroeconomically relevant? If yes, I'm going to do something. If not, I'm going to put my energy on something else. But meanwhile, there's still people that can get away with it. So that's the biggest danger could be if an economist was to write laws. So I'm just joking, but because they would probably say it doesn't really matter. Yeah, there's a loophole, but not everyone will take advantage of it, so we're all good. So see, we just need to be very much aware of. And I was just joking about economists, but the person who told me that was an economist. And after a conversation with him, I could understand why. Because he said, Mark, you're talking to me about corruption, but if it represents like 0.1% of my total portfolio, like I'm going to do something for sure, but maybe not immediately. He came back with the risk matrix. What's the probability that it would happen, and what would be the severity if it was to happen? It was as easy as that.
Jeez. Well, we got to take away these. That's pretty sad. Let's put it that way. This square sort of thinking that some economists may have that could degrade.
But keep in mind that whatever
system.
we're discussing today, in terms of challenge and risk, there will always be someone somewhere who will tell you, is it macroeconomically relevant? And even though they might not use those exact words, they're just going to tell you, well, does it really matter? Well, when they say, does it really matter? How do they define? How do they benchmark if it does matter or not? And some people are going to use the macroeconomically relevant theory. Some other people are going to say, well, am I affected? It's as stupid as that.
I guess they're busy with their mathematical equations, Lagrangian formula to maximize utility, rather than focus on the actual big picture, right?
Yeah, but as I say, it all depends on the training you got and your experience. So for them, what they're telling me was like, hey, that's a very rational way of thinking. And sometimes economists think in a very rational way more than an emotional way. So some people will say it's great, some people will say it's not. So it all depends.
Very cool. Not very cool, but very interesting.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous.